Justin Trudeau announcing a Greener Homes grant for Canadians. As you were seeing there in that government video, that this is a grant available of up to $5,000 for things like a heat pump, upgrading heaters, solar panels, or replacing things like windows and doors. The cost is $2.6 billion over 7 years. Now, also watching this announcement with me is the CBC's Karina Roman, who is in Ottawa. Karina, nice to see you. Let's start first. This isn't as people can start applying today, right?
That's basically what's due today. This actually was announced before, and it was outlined in the fall economic statement back in November, these $5,000 grants to retrofit your home. But today, applications open for homeowners. Although it's interesting, they still don't have all the pieces in place to make it necessarily happen right away. So just because someone might apply today, to get an assessment of their home, of where they could make these improvements and which improvements might qualify for the grant, it might not actually happen right away, because they announced last week $10 million to train up to 2,000 people to become these advisors in terms of inspecting your home and making sure the program works. And so since those people have not been trained yet, there is people who do that in this industry already, but not enough to perhaps meet the goals that the government has. So, just because the applications are open today, I don't want people to think that, in a couple of weeks they might start getting work done on their homes. But that is what's new today, is that the application's open.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, Karina, as much as you can on it. It's not as simple as going, I need a heat pump for my house, or I want new windows and doors. You have to go through a specific process to be approved for a grant of up to $5,000.
Yes, exactly. So once these advisors and these inspectors are qualified, they would come to your home and they would do basically an energy audit to see where your problems are, where you're leaking heat perhaps, and then give suggestions of what would qualify to make your home more energy efficient. And then if you decide to go ahead, you like what they're saying, then a licensed contractor would do the work. Then you would get assessed again to inspect the work that was done, and then be able to get your reimbursement. So there is definitely a process involved. It doesn't sound that different from a program that was in place a number of years ago under the Conservative government. What might be different from the sounds of it is some of the things that might qualify for it. Because I remember under that previous program, I'm pretty sure windows weren't included, and now it sounds like windows might be. So that kind of thing might be different, but it does sound eerily similar to a previous program that the Conservatives actually brought in, but then also canceled before they left office. But there is a process involved. However, applications open today.
Yeah, you mentioned that it does sound similar to one that the Harper government brought in, and I think it was quite wildly popular as well. And if you look around today, especially during COVID times, people are doing a lot of renovations to their homes.
Absolutely, Hannah, and the living room I am standing in right now, we did actually ourselves take advantage of that program 10 years ago. So the walls surrounding me right now got filled with new insulation because I live in a very old home. So it was wildly popular. I had skin in that game, so full confession there, full disclosure. I think the government understands and expects this program to be equally popular, if not more so. And part of their whole aim is, if they're going to put money into trying to create jobs and get the economy going, they want to put it in places which will also green the economy. And while some critics have said a retrofit program isn't going to make a massive change to our emissions as a country, our greenhouse gas emissions, the government wants to pretty much tie most investment into jobs and into the economy to also have some kind of green impact.
Yeah, one of the other things that I want to pick your brain on this just quickly, because you follow the finance department as well. One of the things that probably is in the back of their minds as well is that, it'll keep the economy rolling as well, that this will keep people putting money into the economy. And we saw that even under the Harper government when they did this too, right?
Absolutely. In fact, this government is predicting over 100,000 jobs could be created by all the spin-offs of what. So whether we're talking the construction industry or the actual energy industry or the supply chain that the Prime Minister talked about there in his news conference in terms of, well, if we're going to get new windows and doors, why don't we make them here in Canada? That kind of thing. So they're really hoping there'll be a lot of spin-offs to this one program that would keep not just spur the economy now, but actually keep it going long term.
Yeah, thanks, Karina. Really appreciate it and nice to see you. Karina Roman in Ottawa. Now, the Prime Minister has finished making that announcement in Ottawa moments ago. We will return to that when he takes questions from reporters, so stick around for that. But before we go back, I want to bring in Brendan Haley in Toronto. He's a policy director at Efficiency Canada. It's housed at Carleton University's Sustainable Energy Research. That's a mouthful. Research Centre. Thanks for joining us. I think this is something that a lot of Canadians are going to be interested in. We've seen it in the past. Tell us how beneficial this grant will be.
Well, it's really great to see the federal government getting back into supporting energy efficiency. It's been, about a decade since they've been involved. There's a lot of supports right now, or some supports at the provincial level from provinces and utilities, but if we want to drive much higher participation, much more substantial greenhouse gas reductions per home, we need the federal government to get involved too. And one of the reasons people undertake these upgrades, and we often sell the benefit of these upgrades, is not just about the energy savings, it's really about the comfort of your home, not having some rooms that are colder than other rooms, having a more durable building that can keep its heat if the power goes out. But of course, also from a policy perspective, we want to drive deep greenhouse gas reductions.
Now, I don't know if you've had a chance to look into this so far, because I know it was announced in the budget. Today, people can apply. Do you think this grant goes far enough as an incentive for Canadians to retrofit their homes?
Right. We really need to start seeing much larger energy savings per home than we've traditionally seen in energy efficiency programs like this. If we're continuing to support what we call more shallow or retrofits, that can actually be much more costly, much more difficult to then go back and do the upgrades later. So this grant, though, really has to be understood to work in combination with what should be coming this summer from the federal government as well, a $40,000 zero interest loan, and then as well with the supports that exist at the provincial level in many areas. So if we see people taking advantage of that loan, sweetened with this grant, and then coupled with existing provincial and utility incentives, we might start seeing those comprehensive retrofits that we need for climate goals.
Is there anything that you feel is missing from this grant that should be added in?
Well, I think this is a great program for middle-class homeowners who can pay the upfront costs and then get an incentive. The groups really left out are low-income Canadians who cannot pay those upfront costs, and it's not responsible to see them take out a loan and go further into debt. So, in the United States, they've had a targeted program for low-income populations for decades now, and we needed to see something like that in Canada too, because it's really low-income homeowners and tenants who can benefit the most from these energy efficiency upgrades.
Explain for Canadians who maybe don't remember the past one under the Harper government how it works and what types of things they could retrofit.
Right. So essentially it starts with an energy audit. So there's a professional energy advisor who will come in and do an assessment of your house. They'll use a blower door test, which actually measures the air leakage of your house. It's really important to do that because your house works like a system. So you could install a heat pump, but that heat pump might not actually deliver the benefits to you in terms of comfort if you're not also air sealing and insulating before you install that. So you do that, you undertake the upgrades. My understanding is you'll be able to go to a portal, and then once you undertake those upgrades with a qualified contractor, you'll receive an incentive back based on their performance. So the more energy you save, the bigger your incentive will be.
What is the likelihood? We've seen programs in the past that, yes, it says you'll get up to $5,000 in a grant. What's the likelihood, or how much would you have to spend to get that $5,000 grant?
That's a good question. It's more in terms of how much you need to save. So, for instance, air sealing could be actually quite low cost, and if you can air seal really well, you'll receive a grant. But as I said, a deep retrofit can cost $50,000, even $90,000, and then you will maximize out that grant. But what would also really help with that is that $40,000 zero interest loan, and any other incentives that can be available can be stacked on top of that at the provincial level. So to achieve, to do a comprehensive retrofit, it's much more than $5,000. And that's why we need to think about these other policy supports.
Yeah, because it's going to be a good chunk of cash that you'll likely have to spend to get that total amount of grant. Am I safe in saying that? Yes,
I would anticipate so.
So for people who are sitting at home scratching their chin going, I think I'm interested in this, what's the next process?
My understanding is that there should be a website that is up now after the announcement, but I'm not too sure it's up. So so there should be a website. I don't entirely know, but there should be a website at Natural Resources Canada that they can go to and understand the program. And then the first step will be to go find a qualified energy advisor to give you basically a roadmap for how you improve the energy efficiency of your home.
Before I let you go, these energy advisors, I know back in the Conservative days when they had the program, there were quite a few of them, but when they canceled it, there were a lot of jobs in that industry that were lost. Is there a need for many more of these energy advisors?
Well, right now there are still energy advisors, often supported by those provincial programs. That boom and bust has been very destructive to the industry. So we really hope this support stays and is comprehensive. But yes, there is a plan to train more energy advisors to anticipate the demand that will come forward. But certainly right now, there are energy advisors available throughout the country that people can contact.
And I think that will probably be on that website, which I will tweet out once I find that address for people. Brendan Healy, thank you for breaking this all down for us. I know that Canadians are definitely interested in this, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Brendan is a policy director at Efficiency Canada.